Patrick sat quietly at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chairs around him. The silence was heavy and painful. Just a month ago, his life had been full of warmth and laughter. Now everything felt cold and broken. He poured himself a small glass of whiskey and closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. It had started on a cold winter evening when Patrick came home from work feeling exhausted and unwell. He had been coughing for 3 days, and his co-workers kept telling him to see a doctor. When he walked through the door, his wife Charlotte was in the kitchen preparing dinner. She looked at him with concern and asked if he'd had a bad day. Patrick nodded weakly and told her how terrible he felt. Charlotte insisted he go to the doctor immediately. He was too tired to argue, so he agreed to go the next morning. Just then, their 2 children came bursting into the house, full of energy and laughter. Their daughter was 15 and their son was 12. Patrick watched them run to their room, and his heart filled with love. He looked at Charlotte, noticing how beautiful and kind she was. She was an amazing cook, a wonderful mother, and a loving wife. In that moment, he felt incredibly lucky to have her. The next day, Patrick went to the clinic as promised. After examining him and running tests, the doctor delivered serious news. Patrick had pneumonia and needed to be hospitalized immediately. He didn't want to stay in the hospital, but his cough had become unbearable, so he reluctantly agreed. They gave him a bed near a window, and he tried to read a book to pass the time, but he couldn't concentrate. Then the door opened, and a nurse walked in. She introduced herself as Martha and explained his treatment plan. Patrick barely heard a word she said. He was completely captivated by her beauty. She had striking blue eyes, a gentle smile, and wore no makeup at all. Her natural beauty took his breath away. His heart began racing, and a dangerous thought crept into his mind. Was he falling in love with this nurse? Patrick spent 5 days in the hospital, and every single day his feelings for Martha grew stronger. He learned that she was married to a man named Andrew, who came to pick her up after her shifts. Patrick would watch them from his window, feeling a sharp sting of jealousy. He desperately wanted Martha to notice him, so he tried to be charming. He smiled constantly, told jokes, and went out of his way to be kind to her. Martha was always polite and smiled back, but she maintained a professional distance. On his last day at the hospital, Patrick gathered his courage and asked if he could have her phone number, claiming he might need medical help later. Martha hesitated but finally agreed, giving him her number just in case. Patrick felt a rush of happiness as he left the hospital. When he returned home, Charlotte greeted him with a warm hug and a loving smile. But Patrick felt nothing. His mind was consumed with thoughts of Martha. Days passed, and he couldn't sleep or focus on anything except seeing her again. Finally, he came up with a plan. He called Martha and told her he needed some medical injections at home. When she suggested he go to the clinic instead, he insisted that he wanted only her help and offered to pay her. After some convincing, Martha reluctantly agreed to come. Patrick carefully chose a time when Charlotte would be out running errands and the children would be at school. When Martha arrived and rang the doorbell, Patrick's heart pounded with anticipation. The moment he opened the door, he lost all control. Without thinking, he pulled her close and kissed her. Martha was shocked and immediately pushed him away, shouting for him to stop and asking what he was doing. But Patrick was lost in his fantasy and didn't listen. Then everything shattered. The front door suddenly opened and Charlotte walked in. She had come home early because she wasn't feeling well. She stood there frozen, seeing everything. Charlotte didn't scream or cry. With remarkable calmness, she helped Martha straighten her clothes and quietly told her she could leave. After Martha hurried out the door, Charlotte turned to Patrick with cold eyes. She told him there was no need for explanations. She was leaving and taking the children with her. Their marriage was over. Patrick tried to speak, tried to explain, but Charlotte was already walking away to pack her things. Now Patrick sat alone in the dark kitchen as the sun set outside. The house felt impossibly empty without Charlotte and the children. He checked his phone repeatedly, but there were no calls and no messages. Martha never contacted him again. She had only been doing her job, being kind and professional. She had never loved him or even thought about him that way. Charlotte, on the other hand, had loved him deeply. She had cooked his favorite meals, taken care of their children, and built a beautiful life with him. She had been everything a man could want, and he had thrown it all away for a foolish fantasy. Patrick put his head in his hands and began to cry. He whispered into the empty room, telling Charlotte how sorry he was, even though she couldn't hear him. He looked at a family photograph on the wall, and tears streamed down his face. He wished desperately that he could turn back time and make different choices. But it was too late. The damage was done. His wife was gone. His children were gone. His home was empty. He had destroyed everything that truly mattered by chasing something that was never real. As he sat there alone in the darkness, Patrick finally understood a painful truth. Real love isn't about physical beauty or exciting feelings. Real love is about the person who stands by you every day, who cares for you when you're sick, who builds a life with you through good times and bad. Charlotte had given him that kind of love, and he had been too blind to see its value until it was gone forever.